Good afternoon and welcome to another Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation's Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions. I am your host for today, Michael Cornotto. I'm delighted. It's a beautiful day here in Tampa Bay. And today's educator is none other than the Professor Tyler Wertman. And the topic is a blues approach for trombone. I know you're excited, whether you're a trombone player or you're trumpet. If you're blessed to be a trumpet player or, keys, drums, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're going for that blues approach, and I know we all can take some great information from this session. And you know what? This wouldn't be possible without our sponsors, so I want to remind you, please be sure to check out the studio archives of our past video sessions at clearwaterjazz.com education outreach section. That's brought to you by Blue Water Wealth Management at Stewart Partners and Duke Energy, as well as our Young Line podcast available wherever you stream. That's brought to you by our friends at Marine Max Clearwater. All you have to do is just search Young Lions Jazz Master Virtual Sessions wherever you stream. And if you're joining us live, don't forget there's a little feature in there called chat where you can type in your questions, and we love interaction. And we'll set some time to decide at the end to answer anything. If you don't know this phenomenal musician and educator, Tyler Wertman, I'd love to tell you a little bit about him. He's no stranger here at Clearwater Jazz. He's given us so many great sessions, from basic trombone fundamentals, approaching transcriptions, chord progressions, learning how to develop your own personal sound on the trombone. I mean, you can always go back to our archives, check those sessions out. They are free. But a little bit about Tyler. He is a jazz trombonist. He plays classical styles as well. He's performed all over the Tampa Bay area and all over the country. You'll probably see him on a lot of stages. He works here with us with the Clearwater Jazz outreach programs in the schools. He's out there raising up the new generation of musicians and jazz lovers. And we appreciate all that you do, Tyler. And also, he's an instructor of music at the University of Tampa. That's right, where he's presently teaching intro to jazz and so many other things. He has a Bachelor's of Arts in Music from FSU and a Master's of Music and Jazz Studies from USF. So without any further delay, Tyler Wertman, the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, as always, Mike, for a wonderful introduction. Definitely really enjoy having you here. And yeah, trumpet players are blessed, but trombone players are blessed too, because we have something that the trumpet doesn't have and can't utilize as much, which is the slide. You guys have a tuning slide, but that's not the slide I'm talking about, right? So the slide on the trombone is going to be a big factor for today's lesson plan, which is, how to approach blues and play some more blues on the trombone. Okay, so that's what we're going to focus this around. And so tip number one is a question, really, is what does it mean to play the blues? For you as a student or even a professional, what does that mean to play blues, right? Musically, what does it mean? On your horn, what because it's a word. And so, yes, we're taught at a young age maybe a blues scale, but the blues is so much more than just a scale, as we've heard from vocalists and guitarists and just instrumentalists all over. The blues is more of an inflection, a way of playing, more than just maybe a grouping of pentatonic and chromatic notes. Yes, they, in the scale, they utilize, certain notes, flat 3, flat 5, flat 7, which is found all over blues music and blues influenced jazz. But still, it's an inflection to get to these notes, right? Lowering the third or even raising the 9 or the second can give you this desired blues. And so it's more than just a scale. Okay. And it's really a way of, again, shaping your music. So that's the first tip. Okay. Second tip is, how do you interpret the blues? Again, do you think of it as maybe a vocal form? Well, that's a great place to start, because when we're soloing, we're always sort of singing in our head, or we should be if we're not. And maybe if you don't know what a blues phrase, might sound like, well, going with tip number 2 is you should be listening to some more blues music, right? Blues music from different instrumentalists, right? We're talking about the trombone here, but in order to play blues in general, you have to know what the blues is. And that's really important. Okay. And so this is going to be found in music where maybe the guitarist is the lead primary instrument, right? Vocalists are the lead primary instruments. And trombone players can play blues. I'm not saying that's not a good place to seek out that information, but if we're really trying to understand this music, that's where we need to go to. Okay. And so if we're thinking of a blues phrase, we can make very simple phrases that have blues inflections. Okay. Rather than, let's make things bluesy, right? So just playing the third and the 1. Okay. I'm going to just go between the 2. And this is major 3 and major 1 of concert B flat. And you get something that sounds sort of happy, right? You can play this in rhythm changes in any major key center, really. So very simple, very rhythmic, and it outlines that B flat major tonality by going to the major 3rd. Okay, now we're going to utilize the flat 3rd or sharp 9 in some different ways here. So let's try to do that now. Now notice on the last one, I started on the 2, kind of scooped up into the sharp 9 or the flat 3, so to speak, creating a vocal bend, right? A scoop, a nuance, right? All of these things are blues terms, or they go under what the blues is doing to the music. Again, I call these inflections, right? But it's really a part of the nuances to the music ultimately. And so a vocalist, right? If it was a blues vocalist, they might sing boo doo, and they might scoop into it instead of. It's a very instrumental way of playing with the second approach. I'm not saying vocalists can't do that as well, but it's more natural for them to use the voice, right? To bend up, to bend down. It's a very vocalistic tool to utilize the slide of the trombone. Okay, so if we want to start maybe playing more material that doesn't sound like exercises, right? Maybe we want to start playing some more material that sounds like the phrases of your favorite blues guitarists, blues vocalists, okay? I guarantee we're going to have to start bending and scooping things a little bit more, creating more natural phrasing motion as if we are singing, right? Because with singing, we can go up, we can go down, very similar to the trombone slide. And again, that brings me to point number 3 here, which is utilize your trombone, okay? Or, if you're a trumpet player, for instance, utilize your instrument, whichever it may be. There's going to be certain characteristics of that instrument that will help you produce some tones, some sounds only possible on that instrument. And so through your practice time, you should sort of find, a couple of these maybe quirky things that you like to do to create, a more personal sound on your instrument. And again, that's the ultimate goal here, is creating a personal sound to your instrument. We don't want to sound like we're playing licks. We don't want to sound like we're playing exercises, right? We want to sound like we're playing, for instance, Tyler's music, right? Or your music when you're playing. We don't want to make it seem like, oh, well, that's good, but he's just, playing the transcription of this guy. We could tell because he does nothing to it. He literally just plays the transcription of, whichever, which is okay, because transcribing is good. But ultimately, that next level is doing something with that transcription and making it your own. Okay. So again, with blues music, it's a lot of interpretation. It's a lot about listening and applying those inner thoughts to your instrument. So we talked about what does it mean to play the blues. Okay, so again, everything that sort of encompasses. We talked about how it's more than just a scale. Yes, the blues scale has a ton of things in it that make it usable and workable, but we need to understand how those things are usable and workable and where that comes from. We can't just sort of say, oh, that's a good scale, let's just use that all the time, that's fine for me. Again, go and listen and seek out how these other artists are using the blues, not the blues scale, the blues itself. Okay. Again, how do you interpret the blues? Do you just see it as a scale? Okay. Or do you see it as something more, something to build your phrases upon? Okay. And again, utilize your instrument. I cannot stress that one enough. And that's the fun one. Utilizing the trombone slide, for instance, to enhance some of these chromatic nuances in the blues, right? It's so much fun to get to, slide through some of these inner chromatic notes because you have those liberties. And again, if I played it on piano, like that's cool too, right? But it does something on the trombone, the way it's able to utilize that natural motion. So Mr. Knodel, do we have any questions out there? What'd you think?
So I like the way you said we need to develop our sound. That was very important. And you talked about the utilization of the blues scale, which was great. But, it all comes back down to listening. Who would you say, here's a question, who are you listening to right now when it comes to developing great blues vocabulary? Like, who is on your personal favorite list of people you're listening to right now? There's a question that just came in.
I love that question, man. So for me, it's not just one artist. It's a few different artists. But like, let's say I'm going to do like a more funk gig or a more pop gig, right? Top 40 bass tunes. You have to encompass a certain sound. You can't just fly off the chart, Frank Rosalino style, and do whatever you want to do. Yes, it's cool, but it wouldn't fit the box, right? And probably wouldn't get called back for the gig. So for me, Fred Wesley is a staple on the trombone. If you're trying to play some blues and play some funk and play some, just some of that good, Southern language that just gets it done every single time, it's going to be Fred Wesley for me. Again, for those funk gigs, he's in the pocket. He plays exactly what needs to be played. He's got the energy, and the way he's able to phrase his solos over, 3-4 choruses, is very efficient in maybe a lack of some other words. He's able to build his phrase after phrase after phrase and not play anything extra, not play anything wasteful in that sense. And so that's what I really admire about his playing, as well as everyone in the James Brown group, Maceo Parker and the team. So.
Awesome. That was a great answer. And I'm pretty sure there's so many great people we can listen to out there. And I challenge, whether you're a young player, you're experienced player, continue to listen, especially to this genre. I mean, it is a foundation. I mean, you can't get away from it. There's so many things that come out of what we technically call the blues.
Right.
So I want to thank you today so much, Professor Tyler, for this great session that you've given us. And I also want to remind everyone, continue to share with your friends, fellow musicians, and let them know the great things you're hearing here at Clearwater Jazz. Also, these sessions that you're hearing, you could go back in the archives and watch them for free. There's no charge. And there's people that pay many or hundreds of dollars for private lessons and things like this and courses, but you can get it here free. Just go to our archives at clearwaterjazz.com/education and check out those sessions, and I'll share them with a friend. Also, if you have any future session topic suggestions, we would love to hear them. If you have some feedback for us, please email us at info@clearwaterjazz.com. We would love to hear from you. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, Michael Canodal. This is Professor Tyler Wertman. We enjoy being with you today. We can't wait to see you out there on the stage, in the community, playing this music we love called jazz. And until then, keep it swinging, everybody. Have a good day.